It's a slippery slope for me because I'm still estranged.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I think it's one of the hardest, most painful things to go through as a parent. It's like having a child die, but they're still alive and they're untouchable, and so many parents don't want to talk about it. So it's really hard for me because I want to be the voice and I want to help, but I don't want her to get upset.
Yeah, and that's really admirable of you.
And I know in my heart, like I could feel it, like she's gonna come back.
She will, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think patience is gonna be necessary with this, because sometimes as hard as it is, we just kind of have to ride out these difficult times, but I can guarantee you, she will come back.
Yeah.
If I've ever given a prediction on the show that I feel is accurate, I feel like
Yeah.
there will be an opportunity to make amends, to say what needs to be said, and
Yeah.
that'll happen. It's kind of like this feeling of like wanting to protect. Brother comes through and is like, I want to protect both myself and other people, but he acknowledges this dynamic of mom and a feeling of not wanting to endure that. It keeps coming through. Does most of that connect?
Yes.
Gotcha. I'm trying to connect with this, though. For some reason, he's showing me a bridge. But he's putting this in relation to the passing. And this just keeps coming through, and I don't know why. It feels like a bridge between like one city to another city, and it just keeps coming through.
Yes.
I'm not sure why, but I'm like using the bridge to go from one city to the next.
His death is the reason I moved from New Jersey to Chicago.
Gotcha.
I do believe that it was the universe, that something extraordinary needed to happen to get me out of what would certainly be my death if I continued to live with my mother in that space.
He felt kind of like things, he keeps showing me not fair. It didn't feel like he had a fair shot at life.
Yeah.
It felt like, from his perspective, from the get-go, that the cards were dealt for him were just not
fair.
Yeah, not fair. And he gets that. And the amount of love that comes through for you is intense.
I hope my makeup artist used waterproof mascara.
Me too.
Did he?
I'm sweating.
Like, what's going on?
It's gonna drip down my face.
Gregory, I'll kill you. Touch up. Hello.
Your mom gives me this feeling of almost like I don't have enough time to really think about what I'm about to face. And that's what makes this so hard. I want you to know that when she comes through, the connection that she has to you on the other side is so close. And no matter what time wasn't able to be spent in the physical world, she comes through so connected to you and in such a young, lively, kind of beautiful way. And that's how she wanted to be remembered. But I want you to know that she's resolved with her passing.
Yeah, she shouldn't have died. Died too early. Infection after a procedure. We're not happy the way the procedure went. And then she had a complication. Then he eventually succumbed to an infection in the hospital after 30 days. Wasn't ready to die. 0. Didn't expect this to happen. She was afraid to have the surgery. Didn't expect this. She got rolled in the operating room. It was like, oh, it'll be no big deal. She'll be fine. And a complication happened in the surgery. And then they came out and said, yeah, your mom may not make it. She's bleeding a lot. She's probably gonna die. Just like that. We almost passed out right there. And what? And then the next 30, 31 days was an emotional roller coaster, and she died. Well, it still haunts us to this day. And I'm blaming myself sometimes, thinking, well, if I was there, if I would have spoke to the doctor and would have said this, would she still be living today? And then at the end, knowing that this was in the hospital and this is her blood, it's intense. You know, I miss my mom.
for sure, around you, there's a lady who acknowledges that she feels like she died kind of too soon. The thing is that she feels like she at least got to reach middle age, or at least got to kind of reach around that time frame. And she's like, I got to this point. It's not like I died in my 20s, but I didn't die in my 80s. The feeling that comes through with this, technically, it was more of a feeling of like, when it comes to getting the news of my passing, I feel like not everyone at one point was kind of around or had the opportunity to say goodbye. So when we hear, it's almost like, oh my God, this is a surprise or a shock, because it's almost like I would want to be holding her hand in the moment that she passed.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
She's having me acknowledge a reference to a battle. She's having me talk about the last 6 months of her life, and then she's having me refer to spreading. She has me refer to 4 girls that I need to highlight, but
I can't even breathe.
Where would the 4 girls be total?
There's 4 of them.
Awesome, great. From her perspective, the feeling is like, I think I'm ready to go. I just am not ready to leave my family. And the feeling is, from her perspective, like,
This is crazy.
when I pass, I'm not gonna be worrying about myself because I'm worried about my girls. And she goes,
Oh my gosh, you're so sad, my girl.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
She's saying, my girls, my girls, my girls. And she's like,
Oh my
I'm okay when I
gosh.
transition, but I'm worried about my girls. I wanna make sure my girls are gonna be fine. And she is having me acknowledge that there's a feeling of, at the time of her passing, the reason why I wanna emphasize this feeling of kind of suddenness is because I don't feel like everybody got to actually
My
be there
sister
in that moment.
didn't. My sister didn't get to say goodbye. I didn't. And so she just never got to say goodbye. Because she was away in college.
Right.
Sorry.
Oh, good.
You said my girl.
Yeah, that's how she views them.
Yeah, so she just didn't get to say goodbye.
Right.
And she didn't have that moment.
This is very much on me, is the way it's being put. So that's the tricky part.
So we're talking about a suicide.
Right. So in the way this comes through, they're basically kind of, for some reason, having me talk about where I pass. I feel more comfortable being who I am. And it's just, it's like a whole lot of shame, secrecy, not being honest with family, compartmentalizing, almost like living a double life. That's kind of the way I would describe it. Like, I'm one way now, other way here. Honestly, shame is the big thing with this. I mean, it's kind of speaks for itself there. It's. Could he have been a gay man?
He killed himself because he was gay and didn't fit in, and no one knew what to do with that.
Is there anything that was unresolved for you, or anything that you could benefit from knowing?
What does she think of my husband?
Well, it's funny because I don't know what this is. There's something funny. She's having me talk about him, talking about his appearance, like the hunk of man. She's having me talk about him, and she's like showing me a tall glass of water when this is going across, and she's basically like, "Yeah, him,
Well, she like good-looking guys.
Like that's a tall glass of water." So she's like,
She would say that all the time.
it's like feels like hitting a wall and hitting a wall and hitting a wall. And I don't know to what extent this will make sense, but if on your mom's side of family, if there's any mother-daughter relationships that have been strained or have been difficult, they're having me acknowledge the daughter in this equation. According to Grandma, the daughter in this equation is doing nothing wrong. This daughter in this equation has given the mother figure an opportunity time and time again. It's like, we can't change people on that side of family. It is what it is. She's doing this, and it's like, let it go, let it go, let it go. And there's a sense of comfort around that.
I was raised by my grandmother
Wow, okay.
from 3 days old. My mother was a teenage mom, and she just didn't want to have a child. And I was always chasing that relationship with my mother.
They're having me talk about her starting over. And that's really the only way I can describe it. They're basically having me talk about her feeling insecure because of her age and where she's at. And there's something with this, as odd as this sounds. It's not about career.
Yeah.
It's not about career. Like, I'm not focused on career. I'm actually more focused on her, where she's at her age. Obviously, she's still young, but there's this feeling of trying to plan the future and feeling that she's behind in some way.
Yeah. Liberty has just been going through a rough patch. It was weird because I don't want to, I don't want to breach her confidence. If she was here, she may want to say it or she may not. So I think as her sisters and as her family, we all try to help her move past it. and become the person she's supposed to be. And
They're needing to let her know, like, no, this is good. Like, the best is yet to come. You need to be able to get all this stuff from the past out so that you can focus
I
towards
gotta
the
text
future.
her this right now.
And that it's worth the effort.
Should I call her?
Yeah.
Hello, Liberty speaking.
Hi, Lib. Hi. I'm just gonna put you on the phone
Alright.
to Tyler. Is that all right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Hi, Lib. This is Tyler.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, doing great. I'm just sitting here with your sister having a good old time. There was a message that came through for you, and I just wanted to deliver it to you firsthand because it seems like it was pretty important. Basically, with where you're at right now, it's gonna get a lot better. They've been watching over you over the past year, and they want you to know that based on where you're at, that like the best is yet to come with this, because they're having me talk about how you feel about yourself at your age and where you're at. And they just want to let you know, like, you're fine, it's gonna be good, but they're having me acknowledge cutting this cord from the past and making sure that we don't re-involve ourselves in it in any way. So it's very, very much like, good job for cutting that cord, severing those ties, but make sure we keep those cords kind of severed, is the message. And,
Wow, okay.
and so basically the feeling.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, so please know in whatever way, if that does apply, that this is a message you're meant to hear and that ultimately you're on the right track, the best is yet to come, and just stick to your guns with this because you're making the right choice.